1. The truth is far more disturbing. Open your eyes now. It's written in English as a chilling, suspenseful narrative set in modern-day America, with echoes of those intense, motivational, spiritual videos that flood YouTube, but twisted into something truly unsettling. The Chosen One. In the quiet suburbs of Columbus, Ohio, where the houses all look the same and the streetlights buzz like dying insects, there lived a man named Elias Crow. He was 34, worked night shifts at a warehouse sorting packages for Amazon, and had never once believed in destiny. Not until the dreams started. The first one came on a Tuesday in late October. Elias woke up soaked in sweat, heart hammering. The words burned into his mind like a brand. You are the chosen one. The truth is far more disturbing. Open your eyes now. He laughed it off. Probably stress, maybe bad takeout. But the next night it returned, clearer, louder. This time he saw faces, thousands of them, watching him from the dark edges of sleep. Not angry, not afraid, just waiting, patient, hungry. By the third week, the dreams had evolved into something worse. He would be standing in an empty field under a bruised purple sky, and a voice, not his, not anyone's he recognized, would whisper directly into his skull. You were never meant to live an ordinary life. You were marked before you were born. The others sense it. That's why they pull away. That's why doors close. Open your eyes wider. Elias started noticing things during the day. Small at first, co-workers avoiding eye contact in the break room, his neighbor across the street staring from her porch longer than normal, the barista at the corner coffee shop handing him his black coffee with trembling fingers like she knew something he didn't. Then the messages began appearing. A post-it note stuck to his locker at work. Open your eyes now. No handwriting he recognized. Text from an unknown number. The truth is far more disturbing than comfort. You already feel it. Scratched into the hood of his beat-up Honda. Chosen One. He changed his number. He started parking in the garage. He stopped going out after dark. But the dreams only grew sharper. One night in the dream, the field was no longer empty. A circle of people stood around him, ordinary people, faces he half recognized from grocery stores, bus stops, his own childhood photos. They weren't smiling, they weren't speaking, they were just looking. Their eyes were wrong, too wide, too still, like camera lenses that had forgotten how to blink. The voice returned. You have been watching since the beginning, not to harm you, to prepare you. You are the final piece, the one who will see what must be seen, so the rest can finally rest. Elias screamed. The next morning, he found something on his nightstand that hadn't been there when he went to sleep. An old Polaroid, grainy, black and white. It showed him as a baby, maybe 6 months old, lying in a crib. But behind the crib, barely visible in the shadows, stood dozens of figures, adults, children, all staring down at infant Elias with the same wide, unblinking eyes. He burned the photo in the kitchen sink. The smoke smelled like wet earth and copper. That was when he decided to fight back. He started researching, late nights on Reddit, 4chan archives, obscure forums. ChosenOne stories were everywhere, mostly delusional rants or LARPing, but a few threads chilled him. People describing the exact same phrase, the same dreams, the same feeling that something ancient had noticed them and refused to look away. One anonymous poster wrote, "They don't want you to save the world. They want you to end the pretending. The world is already over. We're just the last ones still playing the game. You're the glitch that proves it." Elias laughed bitterly. Then he cried. Weeks passed. He quit his job, stopped answering calls from his sister, the apartment filled with empty energy drink cans and scribbled notes, timelines, symbols, half-remembered faces from the dreams. Then came the night everything changed. He fell asleep on the couch, no warning, no slow fade, just darkness. When he woke, he wasn't in the field anymore. He was in his own living room, but wrong. The furniture was the same, but the colors were inverted. Black couch, white walls, gray carpet, and every mirror in the apartment showed not his reflection, but hundreds of eyes staring back. The voice was no longer a whisper. It was inside him. You kept asking for the truth. Here it is. The room shifted, walls peeled back like skin. Behind them were more rooms, endless rooms, each one filled with versions of Elias, some older, some younger, some bleeding, some laughing, some already dead, all of them turning to look at him at the same moment. You are not one person. You are the fracture, the place where the lie cracked. Every time someone almost wakes up, really wakes up, the universe needs a vessel to absorb the shock. That vessel is you, again and again and again. Elias tried to scream, but his mouth was full of eyes. The chosen ones before you failed. They went mad. They killed themselves. They killed others. But you kept going. You kept asking. So now you get to see the rest. The room spun faster. Faces blurred into a single face, his own, but stretched across thousands of lifetimes. Every choice he thought was his had been scripted. Every pain, every small joy, all of it designed to keep the fracture from spreading too quickly. And the worst part? The people watching him weren't enemies. They were the sleepers, the ones still inside the dream of normal life. They needed him to stay broken just a little longer so they could keep pretending the world made sense. If he ever truly opened his eyes all the way, the dream would collapse. Everyone would wake up at once, and waking up, the voice promised, was not gentle. It was annihilation. Elias felt something inside him give way. Not fear, not anger, acceptance. He looked into the nearest mirror. 1,000 versions of himself looked back.
The ordinary fracture. In the sprawling suburbs of Columbus, Ohio, where cookie-cutter houses lined streets named after forgotten presidents, Elias Crow lived a life as unremarkable as the gray skies that hung over the Midwest in autumn. At 34, he was a ghost in his own existence. Night shifts at an Amazon fulfillment center, sorting endless boxes of consumer dreams he could never afford. His apartment was a one-bedroom rental on the 3rd floor of a faded brick building, furnished with thrift store rejects and the faint smell of stale coffee. No wife, no kids, no pets. Just a stack of unread books on quantum physics and conspiracy theories gathering dust on a shelf. Elias had always been a skeptic. Raised by a single mother who worked double shifts as a nurse, he learned early that the world didn't hand out miracles. "Life's a grind," she'd say, cigarette dangling from her lips. "You push through or you get crushed." And push he did, until the dreams began to erode the edges of his reality. It started innocently enough. One Tuesday in late October 2025, Elias collapsed onto his sagging couch after a 12-hour shift. Sleep came fast, but it wasn't restful. In the dream, he stood in a vast, empty cornfield under a sky the color of old bruises. The wind whispered through the stalks, carrying words that weren't quite audible. Then, clear as a bell tolling in his skull, "You are the chosen one. The truth is far more disturbing. Open your eyes now." He jolted awake, heart pounding like a trapped animal. Sweat soaked his t-shirt. "Just a nightmare," he muttered, rubbing his temples. Probably the energy drinks or the flickering warehouse lights messing with his head. He shook it off, brewed a pot of coffee, and scrolled through his phone until dawn. But the dream returned the next night. This time the field wasn't empty. Shadowy figures lingered at the periphery, their faces blurred but familiar, echoes of people from his daily life. The barista from the corner Starbucks, his shift supervisor, Even his mother, younger, healthier, staring with eyes that didn't blink. The voice grew insistent. The others know. They've always known. You're the one who will see. By the third night, Elias was popping caffeine pills to stay awake. When sleep finally claimed him, the figures stepped closer. They weren't threatening, they were expectant. Hands reached out, not to grab, but to guide. The voice boomed. You were marked before birth. The fracture in the facade. Open wider. He woke screaming, neighbors pounding on the walls. That morning he called in sick for the first time in years. Signs and whispers. Elias tried to rationalize it. Stress from the job? Maybe. Lingering grief from his mother's death 2 years ago? Possible. He even Googled recurring nightmares and skimmed articles about sleep apnea and PTSD. But deep down, a nagging doubt wormed its way in. What if it wasn't just in his head? The signs started small, insidious. At work the next week, after forcing himself back to the grind, coworkers avoided him. Not overtly, but in subtle ways. Conversations dying when he approached, eyes darting away in the break room. His supervisor, a burly guy named Mike, clapped him on the shoulder once and said, "You look like you've seen a ghost, buddy. Everything okay?" But Mike's eyes lingered too long, as if searching for something hidden. Then came the messages. First, a sticky note on his locker. "Open your eyes now." No signature, handwriting like chicken scratch. Elias crumpled it and tossed it in the trash, but his hands shook. That evening, driving home in his rattling Honda Civic, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. The truth is far more disturbing than the lie you've lived. You feel it already, don't you? He blocked the number, heart racing. Paranoia set in. Was someone pranking him? An ex-coworker with a grudge? He changed his route home, parked in a different spot. But the next morning, etched in the frost on his car window, ChosenOne. Elias wiped it away with a sleeve, breath fogging the glass. He laughed, a hollow, forced sound. "This is bullshit," he told his reflection in the rearview mirror, but the reflection stared back with eyes that seemed wider than before. He dove into distraction, binge-watching true crime docs on Netflix, blasting podcasts about unsolved mysteries, anything to drown out the whispers that now echoed even in waking hours. At night, he fought sleep with Red Bull and pacing, but exhaustion always won. In the dreams, the field expanded. Now it was a sea of corn stretching to infinity, the figures multiplying, thousands of them, forming a silent circle around him. Their eyes gleamed like polished stones, unblinking, unwavering. The voice evolved too, not just words, but sensations. A flood of memories that weren't his, flashes of wars he hadn't fought, loves he hadn't lost, deaths he hadn't died. You are the vessel, the one who absorbs the cracks so the world doesn't shatter. The chosen have come before. They broke. Will you? Elias began journaling the dreams, scribbling feverishly in a battered notebook. Dates, details, symbols. A recurring motif, eyes everywhere, carved in corn stalks, reflected in puddles, staring from the sky like inverted stars. The Polaroid and the past. 3 weeks in, Elias found the Polaroid. He'd crashed hard after a shift, no dream journal in hand. Woke to sunlight piercing the blinds, a headache throbbing. On his nightstand, beside his alarm clock, sat an old instant photo, yellowed edges, faded black and white. It depicted him as an infant, chubby-cheeked in a crib, tiny fists clenched. But in the background, shrouded in shadow, stood figures, dozens, men, women, children, all staring down at baby Elias with those same wide, unblinking eyes. His stomach dropped. This wasn't from his family album.
Trembling, he held it to the light. The figures were indistinct, but one caught his eye, a woman resembling his mother, but not quite, her face twisted in something like pity. He burned it in the kitchen sink, watching flames curl the edges. The smoke coiled upward, thick and acrid, smelling of wet soil and metallic blood. As it dissipated, Elias swore he heard a faint whisper, "Denial won't save you." That broke him. He quit his job via text, ignoring Mike's calls, isolated himself, curtains drawn, door bolted.
Food deliveries piled up outside. He plunged into online rabbit holes, Reddit's r/glitch in the matrix, 4chan's X-board, obscure forums on reality fractures and ChosenOne syndromes. Patterns emerged. Threads from years back described identical phrases. The truth is far more disturbing. Users claiming dreams of watching crowds, voices promising revelation. Most dismissed as schizophrenia or ARGs, but a few were hauntingly detailed. One post from a deleted account in 2017. They don't choose you to lead, they choose you to suffer. You're the buffer between the dream and the void. If you wake fully, everything unravels. I've seen it, eyes everywhere. Open yours and you'll wish you hadn't. Elias messaged surviving posters. Most ignored him. One replied, "Stop digging. It's not a gift, it's a curse. The watchers are real and they're patient." Paranoia deepened. He noticed patterns in everyday life. License plates spelling EYE or CHO. Strangers glancing his way on rare ventures out. His sister, Lena, called from Chicago. "Eli, you sound off. Mom wouldn't want this isolation." He hung up, convinced even she was part of it. The inverted world. Isolation bred madness. Elias's apartment became a war room, walls papered with notes, strings connecting dream symbols to real-world signs. Empty cans littered the floor. Sleep came in fits, always dragging him back to the field. One night, the dream shifted catastrophically. No field this time. He awoke in his apartment, but inverted. Colors reversed, black walls, white shadows. Furniture floated slightly off the ground. Mirrors didn't reflect him. Instead, they showed swirling vortices of eyes, thousands peering out. The voice was no longer external. It pulsed in his veins. "You've asked for truth. Behold." Walls dissolved like melting wax, revealing infinite rooms beyond. Each held a version of Elias, one as a child crying alone, another successful, suited but hollow-eyed, a third dying in a hospital bed, whispering regrets. All turned to face him synchronously. You are not singular. You are the multiverse's scar tissue. Every timeline converges here in you. The chosen ones are the anomalies, glitches that prevent total collapse. We, the sleepers, need you to bear the weight. Elias clawed at his face, but his hands passed through like smoke. Flashes assaulted him, alternate lives where he was a hero, a villain, nothing. All ending the same, eyes opening too wide, reality fraying. The disturbing truth? The world ended eons ago. This is the echo, sustained by denial. You are the final anchor. If you accept, it holds. If you reject, the vision shattered. Elias bolted upright in his real apartment, eyes burning. But something lingered, his vision sharper, colors more vivid, and in the mirror, his reflection blinked out of sync just a fraction. Chapter 5. The Spread. Elias couldn't fight anymore. Acceptance crept in like fog. He ventured out, eyes open, truly open. People on the street seemed translucent, their lives scripted illusions. He saw the watchers everywhere, in crowds, behind windows, even in his own shadow. He tried warning others. Anonymous posts online. The chosen one isn't a savior, it's a prisoner. Open your eyes and you'll see the cage. Responses flooded, mockery, concern, but some, recognition. I dreamed the same, the field, the voice. The fracture spread. News reports trickled in, mass hysteria in small towns, people claiming visions of unblinking eyes. Suicides spiked, notes reading, "The truth is too much." Elias sat in his apartment, smiling now. The voice was constant, a companion. You did it. The eyes are opening. Outside, Columbus stirred uneasily. A woman in a nearby suburb woke screaming. A child drew eyes on his bedroom walls. The ordinary world cracked just a little. And Elias, the chosen fracture, waited for the inevitable unraveling. Because the